Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Welcome everyone to the Blacks in Technology BITTechTalk podcast. I'm your host and the founder of Blacks in Technology, Greg Greenlee. This is BITTechTalk is a show where we talk to Black women and men who are engineers, innovators, educators, inventors, change makers, and entrepreneurs doing amazing things in the world of technology. This podcast is where they share their stories, experiences, ideas, knowledge, and perspective on tech with the BIT community. If this is your first time checking us out, you can find us at the following URLs. We are at www.blacksintechnology.net. We are also on Twitter at Black in Technology, and that's spelled BLKINTECHNOLOGY. We're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram under Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology is a tech-focused community and media organization that is dedicated to increasing the representation and participation of Black women and men in the technology industry. We're always focused on forming new partnerships and opportunities to assist our members with their continued professional growth and development. So if you want to partner with us or if you want to sponsor one of these podcasts, send us an email to contact us at blacksintechnology.net. So tonight on our show, we have LeTonya Moore. LeTonya is an attorney and entrepreneur with almost 20 years of experience building and helping build successful enterprises. She is the founding member of the Global Growth Group, a society of experts collaborating to provide entrepreneurs, including speakers, authors, and coaches, with a guided pathway to protecting their brand, both in the United States and abroad. She hosts the 360-degree brand protection mastermind events, a 3-day invitation-only lock-in style business building event 3 times per year in Huntsville, Alabama. She's a highly sought-after speaker, and she shares her success story in her LeTonya Speaks motivational presentations that spread a message of faith, perseverance, and the hard work to audiences small and large. She also hosts several live events throughout the United States each year, and I'd like to introduce and bring to the show LeTonya Moore. How's it going, LeTonya?
It's going great, Greg. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So we're going to get right into Q&A. So I want to start off by asking you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're from, where you're educated, all that good stuff.
Well, I am originally from Huntsville, Alabama. Found my way back here a few years ago, and
where's back here?
Back here in Huntsville, Alabama.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, found my way back home. You know, sometimes that happens. And
Right.
I went to the University of Alabama for both undergrad and for law school.
So, and that Alabama, is that the Crimson Tide?
It is.
Oh, I think my brother-in-law is a huge Alabama fan.
Roll Tide, brother.
Yeah, Roll Tide. So we're talking about branding tonight, and so a lot of people, they might think they know what branding is, but I want you, since you're an expert at this, to give us what your definition of a brand is.
My definition of a brand is it's what does your company represent? Not necessarily who it is or what it is, but what does it represent? What is that thing that people think when they see your logo, when they hear your name, when someone else is talking about your company? And so it really, to me, really speaks to the reputation of your company.
Got you. And so, a lot of people, and thanks for that, because a lot of people, they tend to think that the brand is just the logo itself. Like, oh, that's the brand, when it's actually encompasses a lot more than that. How does a company come to find their brand?
Well, again, it's like a reputation, right? You have to start out with a vision. You have to start out with a mission. But I think even before that, there has to be something at its core that's driving you, something that is motivating you to do that, because there's always a motive behind behavior. There's always a motive behind that thing that we do. And so because of that, that really is going to be that thing that makes or breaks your brand. I mean, there are a lot of businesses that aren't brands, and sometimes people
Mm,
don't understand that, because a brand has to be built. It has to be fortified. It's not just, you throw it up, you're not necessarily a brand. A brand, again, is that thing that if someone hears your company name and they're familiar with your company, what do they
mhm.
think? Do they have a thought? Because if they don't have a thought, typically you don't have a brand, because that means there's no point of reference. There's nothing that you stand for that's resonating with the hearer.
I like what you said right there. If they don't have a thought, then you don't have a brand. That's really interesting and really powerful, because a lot of people they probably tend to forget that aspect of it, right? They probably think that, like I said, throwing your logo up on something, and they're done with the whole branding piece of it. But that's something. I mean, that could actually be like a mantra for people to follow. Like, if they don't have a thought about what your company represents, then you don't actually have a brand. I like that.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about like brand protection, and what's the importance of, why does a tech entrepreneur or an entrepreneur in general need brand protection?
Wow, brand protection really, if you Google brand protection, you're going to see all different aspects, right? So it's one of those things that there's so many facets to it. It could be cybersecurity, right? It could be reputation management, right? It could be intellectual property. It could be asset protection. So there are all different aspects of brand protection. So it's very, very broad, because these are all the things that you have to think about that's going to insulate your brand from anything that would potentially cause the brand to disintegrate. So, like, for what we do, I'll just say this: what we do is we look at the entire brand. We also look at the people behind the brand. So, for example, if I have a business owner, like you said, a tech entrepreneur, and let's say that they've created like this really cool app, I don't know, software or something, and
Right.
let's say that they're like, well, I just want to get it out. They haven't thought about, okay, one, does this need to even have a patent on it, depending on what it is? Technology is so vast, right? And
Right.
it is so forward thinking. But oftentimes what I've learned from a lot of tech entrepreneurs is that they just want to do the work, they just want to create the product, they just want to get it out there, they just want to see it work.
Yeah.
That's their thing, right? They
Yeah.
just want to see it work. They don't want to hear LaTonya say, okay, wait a minute, before you go and talk to those investors, because they have the money to do what it is that you need to do. These are the
Hmm.
things that you need to put in place. Yes, you need $1 million. Yes, you have an opportunity to get that $1 million. But here's the thing: you're talking to people that have the $1 million, and you're going to be giving them information, right, that they have the money to implement. So you have to kind of slow down and think about that. And that's why brand protection is so important, is because it's one of those things that you really have to be proactive to make sure that you take full advantage of putting a brand protection plan in place.
Gotcha. So, like, what's the first step then? Like, you have a service, or you have a product that you want to get out there. Like, what is the first thing that you tell like entrepreneurs that they should look at, in regards to protecting themselves, protecting their brand, or even establishing a brand? Like, what is it? What if they don't even have a brand and anything to protect? All right, come on, okay, let's kind of walk through like the like the process of that.
So let me make sure I understand. We're talking about that person that has this wonderful idea, because
Yeah.
that's really going to be the only point that you don't have anything to protect yet, because there has not been a fruition of what's in your head. So let's say you're at that stage. If you're
Hmm.
at that stage, these are the things that I always tell entrepreneurs to think about. Who are you going to be working with, if you're going to be working with anyone else? Because it's rare that people do every single thing by themselves, all the way up. So there are going to be some people that they're going to be working with. So what's the agreement with this person, right? Are they going to be your partners? Is this just some think tank that you're bringing together to give you ideas? Is this just your focus group that you're testing your idea? What's going to be that relationship? Because each one of those relationships are going to require a different type of agreement, a different type of contract. You're going to need a non-disclosure, because you want to make sure that these people are not going to go out and blab uh, all the information that you've given them, and then you have no recourse. Depending on who you're talking to, you may also need like a non-compete or a non-circumvent. And what a non-circumvent says is, I'm going to give you information and you're not going to take it and do it without recourse. So lots of times people, they don't even think about that. Or if they think about it, they're like, well, they're probably not going to do it, or, oh, they don't know how to do it. But they may know someone who knows how to do it. So you have to think about that. That's one of the main things that I would say starting out. The second thing, and I'm saying second, but they're all sort of right there, side by side, is your business structure. Oftentimes people say, well, just do an LLC. Just go to your state Secretary of State website, download the forms, fill it out, pay your, I don't know, it's different in different states, $75, $100, whatever it is. Now you're protected, right? Because you have an LLC. It's not so. It's a whole lot of things that go into that. So, for example, this is a common issue. People will do the LLC. However, they don't have a bank account attached to the business. So they're still doing everything out of their own personal bank account. The same bank account that they're buying their groceries and paying their rent out of, they are paying for their marketing and advertising out of that same account. Why is that important? It's important because that actually really makes the LLC null and void if you get sued. Because the whole purpose for putting up an LLC is so that your personal assets are not at risk. And so the very first thing that an attorney is going to say, well, really, that was just something for you to do. You really weren't trying to shield your assets, because this is one and the same, because all of the money is going into the same pot and you're paying bills and you're basically operating your business out of your personal account. And oftentimes, if you're in that situation, a judge will say, yep, we can't, you don't get that protection of the LLC. People don't know that, because when they go online and they have their legal consultation with Google, Google just says, well, if you put up an LLC, if you put up an LLC, on Google Esquire, it's like you put up your LLC and this is what happens. But that does not take into account human nature. And it also doesn't give any additional details on how you should handle that. So those are two of the things, or three of the things, because like I mentioned, you want to have contracts as well with your vendors. You want to have contracts with any of the people that you're getting services from. Creatives are and really, like I said, techs and creatives, these are the places where they miss out a lot of times, because they just don't think about it. They just need the work done. They don't care about the rest of the stuff, as long as these things get done. So like, I'll give you an example. Let's say that you are wanting to create an app and you may know how to code, but there may be a different type of code that you don't know how to do. And so you need to enlist the help of someone that knows how to do or write this particular type of code. When you bring that together, your idea, okay, I need an app that does these 5 things. And so I need you to write some code for me for these 2, so it will work correctly to fulfill my vision. Unless you have some type of contract in place, you now have created a partnership, whether you wanted to create a partnership or not, because that person is going to say, well, this part of the code, I created this. And unless there's something in place to say this was a fee for service, this was a work for hire, which is another agreement you want to have in place, once it blows up, they're going to come and they're going to say, I need to stake my intellectual property claim, or we need to go half and half on this. And that was never the intent. And you both knew that was never the intent, but there's no way to prove it. So these are a lot of the pitfalls that I see with techs and with creatives.
Interesting. And it's actually going over into one of the next questions, but I want to go back to what you were saying about NDA, a non-compete, non-circumvent. So I heard you mentioning agreements quite a bit, and I know that just dealing with business myself, that some of these agreements require the help of a lawyer, right? To make sure that the agreements that you are putting together are correct and is going to fulfill your needs. But what do you say to people like or entrepreneurs who, I mean, most entrepreneurs are bootstrapping this stuff themselves, especially Black entrepreneurs. And what if they don't have the money to go to a lawyer to, get several different types of agreements to deal with every matter that they run into? It's like, how do you, what advice do you give those people?
The first thing that I would say is most of those folks are using Google Esquire, right? Like we talked about, like we mentioned earlier.
Hmm.
The first question is you have to find out how much would it be to get a contract created. Like I'll use myself for an example. All of these things, non-circumvent, non-compete, NDA, these are almost form, almost template like, and we just have them available for people to just buy. And if they buy them from us and they're going to utilize ours, we include a free review. So, but a lot of people they don't even think that they don't even know that because they're
Right.
like, oh my God, I can't use her. Let me just download this one for free. And so, part of what I would say is you definitely are going to get what you pay for. But for folks that do decide to do that, why not just call an attorney that you know and or someone that you don't know and just say, I have a contract that I would like reviewed. How much would you charge me to review the contract? And
Right.
oftentimes it may be equivalent maybe to an hourly rate, which could be $200, it could be 325, but it's not going to be $1,000, right? That it
Right.
will require to create this. One thing that I will say is that a lot of attorneys, we don't do this, but a lot of attorneys, they will create a contract in a way that you almost have to keep coming back to them to if you want
Really?
anything changed because you have no idea what it is. That sort of prompted us to start, when we create like contracts
Hmm.
like this, these are things that you're going to have to do over and over. So what we do with our clients, if they come to us to have it created, we say, okay, this stuff you keep in here, don't change it. This stuff will always change from person to person, and we help them understand what needs to be in there. Oftentimes then they will call back and say, okay, I did this contract. Before I send it over to the other party, can I have you review it? And they just have us come and they just have us review it. And so after that one, we do have a rate. Just the It's not what we would charge for a regular contract review, but we do have a discounted rate because they're using our contract. And so that's a contract that's been vetted. We know we created it, so we know that this is solid.
Right.
That's a relationship that you should be building a relationship with an attorney anyway. And so if you can build a relationship like that with someone who offers those type of services, and you may have to talk to 10 or 12, but it's better to talk to 20, 10 or 12 and find the one that's going to be a good fit for your budget than to talk to no one and
Right.
you find yourself in one of the situations that I described.
I wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit because that kind of segues into this next question. You were saying how you have these prepared contracts to where if they buy these contracts, then they're not getting charged as much for the review process. And I know I think I read or heard you mention something about uh, you work with various budgets to offer brand protection, right? And I'm guessing that's kind of part of it. But kind of take us through like some of the tiers of brand protection services that you provide. Starting from like the low end, like something that someone with not a lot of money and can come in and they can start off with protecting their brand until they get to a certain point, and then they can buy additional services. So kind of run us through what those tiers are.
So the first one would be like on demand, like we mentioned. They come, they purchase a contract bundle, depending on what it is that they're whatever needs they have. So they could get one contract, they may get a contract bundle. And that would just be them getting the sample and saying, okay, this is what I need. That's the one I mentioned that they just buy it. We don't talk to them about what their needs are. They know that they need a non-disclosure agreement, so they will purchase that non-disclosure agreement from us, and then they will utilize it. So that's sort of tier number one, where you buy products and you utilize it in your particular business. That's the one that I mentioned, that if you do that, we will review it, because again, these are samples. So just know that there's not a lot of meat in them. But these contracts don't necessarily need a lot of meat. But depending on your business, there may be some extra things. Like, for example, from a technology standpoint, there may be some extra things that need to be put in there that wouldn't be in a standard non-disclosure agreement, for example. But to just speak to your question, so you have the on-demand. There's also that combined with that, of course, is the do-it-yourself component. The other portion with the do-it-yourself is we also are going to be launching, or actually have launched. We did a beta test already. Legal education courses. It's called the Brand Protection Institute. People can sign up and they can learn about contract law. They can learn about intellectual property law. It sounds boring, but it's from a consumer standpoint,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So yeah, it's not. We're not teaching you how to practice, but what we are going to teach you is, one. Let's be honest. A big aspect of brand protection is checking behind your attorney.
Right.
Most people may not like to hear that, but it's the truth. I believe that business owners need to be empowered. You need to make sure that you have at least a baseline knowledge so that you can ask the proper questions. Because by asking questions, even if you don't know what you're talking about, people are going to think that you do. So you want to be empowered and you want to have that confidence. And so we do provide education in that way, but it's practical. It's not, Black's Law Dictionary. It's not the stuff I learned. I'll just tell you that
Right.
is what you need to
Right.
know so that you can navigate Google Esquire. I'll just use that as an example. And then the other one is like our masterminds, for example. That's something that you can come, you work right along with people like me. It's not just lawyers, but it's other people that we have as part of that. So live events, and whether that's a virtual live event or an in-person live event, they can come, they can find out about different things. The wonderful thing about the mastermind is that everybody that attends the mastermind, there's a segment where we dissect your business. But I mean, we can't do the entire business because it's only 3 days. But
Right.
your top three challenges that you're having in the moment, or your one challenge that you're having in the moment. And now you got 10 or 12 other minds that are assisting you in working through those things. And during the course of the weekend, everyone is providing different level of teaching services and things of that nature. So that's a different environment. And then at the top tier is when you just pay us to do the job. Whatever
Right.
that job is, you pay us, we create it for you, we handle the things for you, and you go about doing what it is that you do.
And I love how that's structured, because you're not just for I guess for people who just want you to do the work, they have that option, but you're also teaching people to fish as well, right? Like, that educational piece is critical, in my opinion. And I love how you're not you're not kind of overwhelming people with a bunch of law stuff, right? You're actually giving them applicable information that they can take and apply to whatever circumstance or situation that they're in. So that type of service is really incredible, that you're offering. I think that's a good way to do it. So let's talk a little bit about some of the common mistakes. I know you mentioned a couple of them, especially like when it comes to like technology entrepreneurs. Like, what are some of the things that you're seeing? Technology entrepreneurs, like the most common mistakes that you see happen, like kind of right off the bat.
inventors and technology folks are super analytical, and everything has to totally line up, or
Yeah.
they're just not going to do it. If it is not going to add up in whatever their equation is, they're not going to do it. It's not going to work. And unfortunately, that stifles the process a lot of times. If they have it in their mind that this is how this thing works and this is how it should work, and they will have worked it through their minds several times. And if
Hmm.
it doesn't work that way, it's always a challenge. And so what I've learned in working with people in not just technology but other analytical careers, accountants are like this definitely as well, is to I have to think about all of the potential issues, and I need to just answer those questions up front. I have to have the answer, either answer them up front, or I have to be prepared to answer those questions, because again, people in technology, they work almost like circuits. Okay, if there's a breakdown, we can find this breakdown. And sometimes in business, there is no real breakdown. It's just the way the market is, for example, or it's just or right now this is just not a good fit. Not that it's not great, it's just that these folks aren't interested in doing it, and here's why. They just invested in something similar to yours, right? So that they're not interested right now. We can put them on rotation for 2 years from now. So that's a little bit of a challenge when we're talking about the business, the branding, even from a brand protection standpoint. um like one of the examples I gave earlier about the coding, and someone enlisting the help of, let's say, a buddy to write a couple of sections of code that's really needed. That's something
Right.
that happens all the time until
Wow.
someone makes $1 million, right? Because at that point, when you're broke, you helping each other out. But
Yeah.
when you make $1 million, it's like, where's the split? that
Right.
that that's a challenge. That's a challenge, and that's why it's very important that we teach people about the practical aspect of it, and that you have to see your services, your products, even if they have not made a dime. You have to see them as so invaluable or so valuable that you must put some systems in place proactively, and you got to think about this proactively. And I just don't see that a lot with people in technology, because you're inventors and you're just trying to figure out who's going to help me get this thing moving.
So has there, and just to kind of clarify what you're saying, um, it sounds as if like you've ran up against some people who may have can't come to you with like a certain idea, a certain what they can might think is an innovation, and you've had to say to them like maybe say no to them, like no, this has been done before. You can't you can't protect this. Like this is something that someone else has in the market. Like what? Like is that what you're alluding to? Is that like some of the conversations you're having to have?
Right. Like that's definitely happened, but
Hmm.
that's not the end of the world. And that's sometimes sort of how it is, right? But just be like, for example, just because you can't get a patent on something doesn't
Right.
mean it's not great and wonderful and as magnificent as you think it is. It just may not be something that is eligible to get a patent. Just because you can't get a trademark approved doesn't mean that you can't do this particular business. It just means that the trademark was not approved because there may be some confusion in the marketplace with a product that's already existing in your class or good or service. So it's not as confusing, but I just noticed that with people in technology, especially
Hmm.
on the patent side, it's almost like, well, if somebody's doing this enough where I can't get like this trademark, or I can't get this patent, let's say it's eligible for a patent, but somebody else has one similar, then it's like
Right.
they don't want to do it.
Mm.
And it's just like, why would you want to do this? Like, this is magnificent. Why would you want to do it? Well, and it's almost like it just takes the wind out of them. And
Yep.
I've just learned to accept that, as sometimes that it happens.
Right.
Sometimes they come around. and they decide, like, you know what, I've been working on this too long, I'm gonna, push forward. But sometimes they just totally pivot and they'll do something else.
Are those ideas still available for brand protection, even though that there's already a trademark or a patent out on a similar idea? Are they still eligible for that?
Sometimes. So let's talk trademarks. The issue with trademarks is you can have two people with, or two companies with the exact same name. If
Hmm.
one is a technology company and one is a food and beverage company, they both can get a trademark,
Okay, right.
because there's no chance that anyone is going to confuse a
Hmm.
food service, McDonald's hamburgers with McDonnell Douglas or McDonnell Airlines. I just use that as an example, because they're
Right.
in two totally different industries. There's no way under the sun. Okay. In that situation, that can happen. But let's say that you had McDonald's hamburger and you had, Coming to America was a perfect example. Remember McDowell's? I don't know if you saw it, but
Yeah,
McDowell's hamburgers. He
I
knew what he
remember.
was doing, right? He knew
Yeah,
what he was doing.
he had McDonald's. He had McDonald's. Their whole playbook.
And he
In the
used
office.
their colors, even
Yeah.
though it was McDowell's greasy spoon. At the same time, it looked like McDonald's in the marketplace. And so, even though those names are different, anything that can create confusion in the marketplace, that secondary trademark is not going to be able to fly. So you won't be able to trademark it. It does not mean that you can't operate your business. It just means
Yes.
that you won't be able to trademark it. Now, if McDonald's, let's use that example, they already had a trademark, they're going to
Right.
try to shut McDowell's down from even being able to use it. Like, they're going to have to change their colors. They're going to have to change their process, because no one at McDonald's is going to want their customer base to think McDowell's is McDonald's. So there's a lot that goes into that, which is why we do our best to do a lot of upfront research to see, is there a similar company out there that's operating in the same space.
Interesting. Even though McDonald's is the Golden Arches and McDowell's is the Golden Arcs.
Right. Right.
That's a
Right.
Coming to America reference in case anybody wonder what we're talking about. Go watch Coming to America. What's up, everyone? We hope that you're enjoying this episode of the Blacks in Technology BITTechTalk podcast. Do you or someone you know have a dope story that they want to share with our BIT audience? Blacks in Technology is seeking guests to be on our podcast. We're looking to highlight the journeys and experiences of Black women and men in the tech industry. So if you know of someone, send them our way. Shoot us an email to contact us at blacksintechnology.net, or click on the link in the show notes and fill out our form. We're looking to hear from you. So that raises an interesting question. You'll still be able to operate as a business until like an entity comes and says, hey, you can no longer, like, what. So in that case, like, what does what type of research is involved up front then, so something like that is prevented? Like, how much research is involved, like, on the front end? What type of research do you all do? Like, how long does it take? uh, can you give us like a little bit of information on that?
Yeah, so there's something called common law trademarks, and basically what a common law trademark is, when you see people and they have their name or their logo and it has a TM behind it. That's what's called a common law trademark. What you're doing, you're letting the marketplace know that I am claiming ownership in this particular phrase or this logo. When you see an R on the inside of a circle, that is a registered trademark. That means that that trademark has been cleared through the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and you have your serial number. So that is a formal trademark. What's done up front is the best search you can do for the common law trademark. Because the other trademarks, you just go on the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and just see. You can any citizen, anybody with the internet can look that up, as long as they have access to United States internet. The common law trademark is where you run into you run into some challenges. I'll give you an example. I had someone who had come to me. They had already gone through the process. They had used one of those online trademark companies, and their trademark was denied. And their trademark was denied because they used they had like a beard, let's say a beard oil. It was just one of those that the guys are doing, and this was actually a couple of years ago. Their name was not, I mean, it wasn't, to me it didn't sound like the other one, but I guess, I mean, I'm African American, so I understand lots of distinctions.
Right.
uh, I understand lots of distinctions that other people didn't. That was
Right.
why the person came to me, because they couldn't understand, like, well, why would this be confusion? I said, well, send me everything, because when they told me about it, I said, well, this doesn't make sense. Send me what you have. When I looked at the packaging, it was like, oh, because the packaging, the colors, the logo was different, but it looked very similar. So what I'm saying is, people that are not experienced with the African American community definitely could confuse those two things, those two companies, and really think that they were the same ones. He didn't even know about this one company, because they came out around the same time. All of that, they knew nothing about each other. The other company didn't know anything about him. He didn't know anything about the other company. But guess what?
Mhm.
The other company filed for the trademark first.
Mm.
So what he had to do, if he wanted to get the trademark, which we suggested that he make some changes, because there was already a decision made that there could be confusion in the marketplace. So
Right.
that may cause him some problems down the road. We don't know if that ever would happen. What they did, they made some changes to their logo. They
Mhm.
made some changes to their packaging. um, Product was still the same. They didn't lose their customer base, and they were able to get a subsequent trademark after that. But they went with us instead of this company, because even though I was able to say, well, this is really what happened, he was just unsure. He just said, I just don't trust them, because I just feel like they should have told us that up
Right.
front.
Mm.
Hence, they should have, because there's no way that they did the proper research and didn't find this other company.
Right.
That's why, if you're gonna do it and you're dealing with logos and things like that, you really need to connect with someone that knows how to do this. They know how to do that common law trademark search, because then going in that there may be a potential problem. So it doesn't say that you don't file your application, but just know this could be a problem. But
Yeah.
you can still go forth. I mean, I had the same thing happen with a lemonade company. They were told and they were recommended by someone else not to go forward. But it was mostly because both of the people were little black girls. That was really what it was. Their brands were totally different. Their market was totally different, but
Mhm.
they just felt like there would be confusion in the marketplace because they were little black girls. Well, they went and they got their trademark.
Definitely dropping jewels for our listeners. Definitely appreciate all the information that you're giving us. Um, so I want to talk to you about the Global Growth Group, and you're a founding member of that group. And tell us a little bit about what G3 is what you call it. Tell us a little bit about that group and why you decided to help found it.
So G3 really came about from my own blueprint of taking my company, what I call from local to global. And global, of course, is a continuation of where we are today. And
Mhm.
the vision behind that was to help people understand that local or global is what used to be local with technology, with the internet, with all these different tools that we have. You don't have to just look at your local marketplace. And the reason
Right.
that's important is that that means that your company is not, and the growth of your company and the success of your company does not have to be defined by your local economy and by your local market. So if you're living in a depressed area, for example, that doesn't mean that you still can't thrive and your business can't thrive if you get your marketing right and you do the things that you need to do online. And so what we did with G3 is we brought together, or have brought together, a number of people really around the world that assist us in helping clients get into different markets. And what we do is we help their clients get into the US market. And everybody wants to get in the US market because we spend money,
Right.
I guess, like nobody's business. But that was the gist of how G3 worked. And so when we first did it, that was the original vision. That's still the underlying vision. But now we've been able to help people make direct contacts with people in other countries where they are trying to do commerce, because the biggest thing is you have to understand how to do business in these other areas.
Yeah.
In certain countries, don't, you want to make sure you don't compromise people's credit card information, or now they asking for you to come and get them, or you just never know what may
Right.
happen. But that's what G3 is, and we're very excited about it. Another aspect of G3 that we have been doing is for people that are looking at really branding themselves as an authority in their field.
Hmm.
We've been working with people to build that up. So that involves a number of different aspects. Things like podcasting, connecting them with international speaking opportunities. Getting
Right.
them connected, with opportunities to do pitches for
Right.
in other areas. So that's something that's new. We're in the process now, so I don't have any results to share, but it is
Right.
coming along great. And so that's another aspect that we're very proud to now have transitioned a little bit into with G3.
I mean, this almost sounds. There was a thing that, and this is I can't remember the name of it, but it's something that like Benjamin Franklin um, did a long, long time ago. He used to have like a group of local people come together, and they were like experts in whatever they did, and they would come together like and meet at a specific location, and they would like help each other and help other people with common problems. Like, say, for instance, maybe there was someone who was an expert in farming, or they were someone who was an expert in, in wood making or something like that. And they would say, hey, I have this problem, blah, blah, blah. Can you recommend somebody, or can you help me out, or can you make some recommendations? And I like that. I bring this up because I like that collaborative aspect of what you all are doing, and especially since it's international, it's global. So you get ideas and advice and things like that from people all across the world that can ultimately help the next person get in the position where they want to be in. So a few questions from that. How many people are part of this group?
The core group is
Hmm.
12.
Okay.
Yeah, the core group is 12, but I don't have the total numbers for all of the people that have kind of cycled through over the last
Right.
couple of years. I would probably say it's been about 40 that have been connected to this in one way or the other. Part
Right.
of it is it takes a while to build trust across the
Yeah.
borders.
I was going to
Uh,
ask you about that.
it takes a while to build trust. When I first started with G3, the core group was 4 people, and it was 3 other people that I had already done some level of business with, or we were involved in similar things. And so
Right.
we already knew each other. We knew each other personally, but we also knew each other by reputation. And so I was
Right.
comfortable that, quite frankly, they had as much to lose as I did. if if anything went left. And so that's sort of how it first started. But since then, people that have been added to the original four all came
Mhm.
about based on their reputation, and also based on what it is that they bring to the table, because the 12 of us all do something unique and different.
Right.
Like
And so,
I'm the
go
only
ahead.
lawyer. I'm sorry. I'm the only lawyer. Not that I know everything about law, but my skill set fits into what it is that we're trying to do. G3 doesn't need a criminal lawyer.
Right.
We don't need those types of lawyers, but we need someone that understands international business, cultural competency, currency, things of that nature, customs, all of that.
And so that kind of leads me to my next question. And you mentioned that some of this trust that you build, and I guess that's part of that could be part of the vetting process as well. It's just like the reputation. But how do you further like vet people before you fully kind of let them in? Like, is there a process that someone has to go through before you say, okay, now you're one of us, or you're part of the club?
Yeah, you have to how do I say this? You really have to prove yourself. You have to already have certain things in place, again, to be a part of the core group. Now I'll just use you as an example. Let's say that you are a company that's wanting to work with this group because you're trying to do certain things in other areas. You're saying, listen, I need what you guys have to offer me.
Right.
That's more of a consumer relationship, right? That's more of a B2B. So you're coming in. That's a little bit different from being a part of the actual G3 fold.
Okay.
So to be a part, and so I'm thinking that you're asking about the person that is a part of the G3 fold, and that
Right.
really just comes down to, we get together and we determine what need has not been met by this core group. And
Mm.
quite frankly, that comes from things that come out while working with the people that we are serving. And someone may ask certain questions that I may not know, and then no one in the core group knows. Once that happens a couple of times, we have to say, okay, we may need someone who does X. I'll just use
Right.
building apps for an example.
Hmm.
We may say, we really need to connect with someone that builds apps. So after that, we have to determine, do we need them in the fold, or do we just need to have someone that we trust that can be a referral for all the people that are coming through, and they're going to be a service provider. I mean, it's taken 4 years to go from 4 people to 12 people.
Right.
So it's not an easy process to be added to the fold.
Sounds like a lot of hazing.
It's not. It's definitely. Trust me. It's definitely not hazing. But the secondary part to that, to be honest with you, Greg, is I'm very selective about and sensitive. Let me just say this: I'm very sensitive about uh, people that are opportunists. And if you're
Mm.
just coming in because you're trying to just be in a group and suck out all that you can, but you're
Right.
not bringing any value. And I always tell people that when I work in groups, it's a potluck, and you're not going to just bring plates and cups and napkins, and but you want to eat and you want to take a to go plate. It's not going to work like that. Like, you got to cook some cornbread or something. Like, you got to bring something that we all are going to want, or that's going to be valuable. That's going to be valuable to the meal. And that's really how G3 works. We
And
like,
I,
nobody will
and
know about it until we talk about it in a context like this.
Right. And I guess that's why I mentioned hazing because and I didn't mean that literally, but it seems like there has to be like a rigorous um, process for someone to become part of the group, right? Like because your reputation, the reputation of the group, depends on that. So you can't just have any old body waltzing in, like you saying, someone who might be an opportunist or someone who really isn't who they say they are. You can't have them because that diminishes the brand, right, of G3 as well. So
Hmm.
you need a rigorous process before someone can come in and just be a part of something that you all have built and you stake your reputation on.
Right. And the people that are coming for the services that we offer,
Yeah.
they're entrusting us that the people that we put before them are ethical, they're knowledgeable, and they're going to get the results that were promised. And so the only way for us to do that is to know that whatever you're saying that you're bringing to this group, it works. And so that's the other thing. No one brings a new system or new product. No, it has to already be tested. We have to see that this works, and you have to have evidence that it works, not just this is a great idea. Now, once
Right.
you become a part of that, then at that point you've proven yourself. We know what you can do, and so of course we want to be able to bring in additional services as we can.
So you're going to be launching, or have you already launched the International Brand Protection Institute? Tell us a little bit about what that is and what its purpose is.
It is a legal education and application program. And basically, what it is to help business owners. It's really for anybody, but it's targeted to business owners and helping them understand the major legal aspects of business. So, we're focusing on contract law, intellectual property, business structure, tax. I know it sounds dry, guys, but it really is not. It is really a practical application. The presentations are going to be like our conversation is now. So it's going to be a lot of case study, a lot of application, so that as you're moving through the process, you can be empowered to make decisions on your own without having to spend the expense of hiring an attorney for every single question, every single thing. There are certain things that you definitely want to have an attorney for, but there are also things that want to you may not want to spend that expense. You may not have it, and so we want to make sure that you are at least in the best possible position to review, like I said, contracts, to understand, okay, if I need to go and get this program, this curriculum copywritten, like I know how to go and I know how to do it myself. And these are the things that we work with people. And as part of our program, we also teach them about getting what I call a simple trademark. There are some trademarks that are complex, but there are some that really aren't that complex. But when you go on to the website, it's so daunting. No one wants everybody's like, what do I
Don't
push?
I
It's
know
just too much. It's like
it?
that one in the IRS website, right? It's awful. It's
Yeah.
not consumer friendly, and it never will be, because it's all regulatory and technical language. And so we cut through that where you don't really have to worry about it. It's a click here, click there. This is what you do, and we go through the entire process of doing that. That's part of that's part of it. But we also start with helping you understand what is something that falls into the trademark category, what falls in the copyright category, what falls in the patent category. Because oftentimes people will think they need a trademark when they need a copyright, or they think they need a patent when they need a trademark. And so
Right.
that's some basic information that you need to know. In order for you to do it yourself, you have to know, well, what is it that I'm trying to do? And then you just go from there.
And what's going to be the structure of the training? I know it's going to be virtual, but is it like a 1 day training? Is it 2 or 3 days? Like, what kind of walk us through a little bit of like the structure of the training?
It's going to be two different structures. One is on demand. You take at your own pace.
Mm,
Each one of these courses are going to be broken down into very short modules. There's just no way that I think a layperson would even have the interest to sit through an entire intellectual property course for an hour or two. That's just, there's no way that you're going to be able to retain that and then be able to do it and duplicate it, and you probably won't have the interest in doing it. So the entire course may be, let's say, an hour and a half, but the modules may be 5 minutes, they may be 15 minutes, depending on what section. And then at the end of each module, you probably will have just a worksheet or some type of handout for you to write out, just for you to work on doing the things yourself. And then at the very end, you can go and you can practice. So it's the difference between honestly paying $2,000 or $2,500 for a trademark, right? And paying for the course, and then paying your 275 or 425, depending on what your filing fee is at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, because it's something that you've done yourself.
Mm.
And for
And
people
what?
that, oh, I'm
Correct.
sorry, for people that do take our course, before they file their application, we
Hmm.
will also review it. So we're
Nice.
available when you're taking that course. See, it's like any other online course. So you can ask questions. You'll be able to ask email questions if you're doing it on demand. You'll be able to ask email questions along the way. Now, of course, if you take the live course, then
Hmm.
you'll be able to ask questions at the very end. There will be, I think, a 30-minute. I think we have 30 minutes set aside for any live Q&A, and each instructor is open to that.
Nice. And, I mean, and this is something that I can see that'll really take off, especially, I'm in the tech space, so I'm speaking for people in tech, especially for tech people, because this is an easy way uh, to really gain some knowledge about certain aspects of brand protection and intellectual property, that type of thing, without having to, let's just say, read through a ton of different websites to try to discern whether or not like what you're reading is even is even true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Let alone whether or not it is going to apply to your specific situation. On top of that, like this is, engineers like to kind of learn and teach themselves as well, tech people. And so, I mean, this is an easy way, especially if you have it structured to where you can go at your own pace. I think a lot of people will find a lot of value out of something like this. Like, so what are some of the fee ranges? Like, what are you looking at as far as costs for people to take these courses?
It really is going to depend on the course. So, of course, the on-demand course is cheaper than the live course.
Right.
So for example, the intellectual property course, which of course includes trademarks, it includes patents, it includes copyrights. There are some areas of intellectual property that we don't cover because this is geared more towards startups, small businesses, and so there are some
Hmm.
aspects that we don't cover. But that
Right.
particular course is going to be $997.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that's the on demand course is $997. The contracts course is the same price. It's nine
Hmm.
ninety seven, and then the
Right.
business structure course is $597.
Nice. Nice. Excellent. And so are these so these are virtual courses. Are they instructor, or are the virtual courses instructor led as well, or how does that work?
Their video, yes, they are. Of course, they're pre-recorded for the on demand. They're pre-recorded, so the instructor is not live, but it is
Right.
going to be an instructor led course. But let me say something inside of these 997. So let's say that you want to take intellectual property, but you're only interested in trademarks.
Okay.
I just want to make sure so inside of these larger headings, you can take just one course. You don't have to
Nice.
take all three, but they are all three included. If you want to do that,
Right.
they all are included. It's a lot cheaper to do that because each individual course is $597. So it just sort
Gotcha.
of makes sense that you would take the whole course. Uh,
Right.
but may not have 997.
Right. And so, like, when do you plan on launching this?
This will be fully launched by the end of February 2020.
Okay. So, okay, couple of weeks. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Excellent. And so, before we get out of here, what's next for you? I know you have the virtual training, the International Brand Protection Institute launching. What's after that?
Wow, I am. I'm doing a couple of pivots in my
Hmm.
business period. One passion about the education component is that I get to reach more people. I get to touch more people without them
Yeah.
having to break the bank, right?
Right.
Let's just be honest. So that's
Right.
one aspect of it. But for me, what's next is really digging into focusing on wealth building services with
Mm.
my clients. So heavily into the asset protection component. I've been
Mhm.
working with some people that are doing some great things in real estate and working with them on helping them understand, let's do a land trust, let's set let's set this up. So those are some things um, that I'm very passionate about moving forward.
Mhm.
One of my clients, just very quickly, a couple of years ago, she introduced me to the family office concept, and so for the last 2 years, um, she and I have been working together on what that can look like, and creating a model for small businesses.
I'm
And
not
so,
hip to that. What is
okay,
that?
so high net worth individuals have something called a family office, and basically what a family office is, it is where your family is run. And when I say family, of course we're talking about high net worth
Mhm.
individuals. It's
Okay.
run like a corporation. So you have a staff of people that not only are dealing with your business from the aspect of making sure that all of your there's a wealth transfer within the company. And so what they do is there are some families right now, they're already set for the next 20 generations.
Oh
They just
wow.
set. They just already set. There's already set for the next 20 generations. Um, but these families get together each year, and depending on your level of net worth, it determines what level of family office you're open to. And so my client is in a family office structure, and so she brought this thing to me, and I was like you, like, okay, wait a minute, pause, period, tell me what that is.
Right.
And what she said was, she said, I need you to see, can we duplicate this for small businesses or people with lower net worth. And so
Yeah.
when I'm saying high net worth individuals, I'm talking about 9 figures and up.
Mm. Wow.
Eight, no, I'm sorry, 8 figures, 8 figures and up. Typically, that's going to be where it is. So like your 10 million, 10
10
million
million up.
plus.
Right.
Yeah, like so your 10 million plus. But your 10 million people are not going to be in the same, they're not going to be in the same with your 100 million, with your 1 billion.
Gotcha.
And so moving forward, that's really what I want to work on perfecting. I would love to take our G3 model and adapt that to a family office model, because
Yeah.
anybody can do it. We just have to figure out some small things related to that. And so basically, people pay to be a part of this family office where they have access to anything that they need: lawyers, accountants, investment brokers, depending on what level you're at, hedge fund managers. it just
Wow.
it just depends. Yeah, so it's very interesting. So we're still working on figuring out how do we adapt this to the average person that still has to qualify for credit, versus
Right.
you got money, so people are just investing it because you asked them to. So
Right.
we're still figuring out how we can modify it to help these businesses grow at a faster rate.
It's a very interesting. I've never heard of that before.
When
I
you get a
can.
chance, Google it.
I
Just
will.
yeah, when
Because
you get a chance, Google it. And even your listeners, I would definitely say Google the concept. Don't it's just something we didn't know about. And so
yeah.
that's what I always tell people: when you see it, don't feel like, oh my God, I'm behind. You can't be behind when it's something you didn't know about.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring this whole thing up because we have a huge community. So we utilize a communication collaboration platform called Slack, and we have like over 3,500 members that's part of our Slack group, and a lot of there's always a lot of chatter around uh, coming together, collaborating to build wealth, and you know, unfortunately, it's sometimes and as far as I know, some of the talk is just becomes talk, right? But it would be really really cool to have like it's I guess it's always hard to kind of take something that somebody just kind of says out like, hey, like we should put our money together or we should do this and really make it more concrete as and structured to where it sounds like it's something that can actually be accomplished, as opposed to like somebody just saying it like in the middle of a chat room, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
uh, but that, to have something like that to say, hey, okay, you know what, here's a model that works, like it's been working for high net worth people, now all you have to do is kind of, if it's something that you come up with, to be able to say, here's a model that works, like use this model and get some people together from out of this group, and you all can actually make this idea or whatever you're talking about work for you.
Yeah, when you get a chance, when you get a chance to look at it,
Yeah.
you'll see what I'm saying about, and when you see, you'll say, okay, this is why it's taking them 2 years to still trying to figure this out.
Mm,
Uh, because because the reality of things is there are certain segments and certain people that are at certain levels, that other people, depending on who they are, have never known that level
right.
of achievement. And
Yeah.
so because you've never, whoever these folks are, they've never been at that level.
Right.
uh there are things that you have to be at that level for it to work that way.
Mm,
Just
gotcha.
real quick, I'm gonna give you this example.
Hmm.
When I first found out about it, I reached out to a group that pulls in experts to provide services, to one particular larger family office. And we can talk offline more in detail, but I just want to share this very quickly.
Right.
And so before, like, it was, you would think that it would be a sales call. So you would think that they would be telling me about all that they do, what they offer. You would think that.
Right.
No, 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 no. It was all about me. They checked out everything about me. They knew, they were asking about things that I had forgotten about.
Oh, wow.
And then they let me know what it was going to be to buy into, because you have to buy into it, to have
Mm,
access, right? If you're going to get access to the $100 million person, I mean, you're not going to get that for free, because
right.
they already have access to, there's 1,000 Latanyas in there. They just don't look like her. And
Right.
so you have to buy in to be a part of this, and to have access. And even when you buy in, depending on the level that you buy into, depends on who you get access to, depends on what you even get invited to. So what I describe to you as how we come together in my
Hmm.
masterminds and things of that nature, and
Right.
I guarantee you this is the same type of concept what Ben Franklin was talking about.
Right.
Uh, but that's how they come together. But when they come together, it's like, okay, so how are we going to deal with X so that, like, when they leave, they've already planned for the next 5 generations. It's like a business meeting. So what I'm saying is, while some groups are having family reunions and barbecues and going to Disney, or they got the XYZ family, family cruise, right, for that year, and everybody's getting together, other people are doing something similar, but they're having 3-4 days of business meetings where people are doing presentations about money. People are doing presentations about, this is what you need to do, move your money here, do this is going to be the next trend. And so they know what they're going to do, and they have new babies, so they're updating their trust and things like that. But that's what's happening. I say all that to say, once we know, those of us that know and are interested, then that's just what we do. We prepare to say, okay, I didn't know before, so I'm going to implement this with, and I'm going to start with my children and my grandchildren, and so on and so forth, and you just move forward from where you are.
Wow. That's very eye opening. I mean, that just lets you know that there's levels to this.
Hmm.
So cool. So I really appreciate you coming on the Bit Tech Talk podcast, talking about brand protection, talking about branding in general. And we wish you the best with everything in your future. And definitely keep us in tune once you launch the International Brand Protection Institute. That'll definitely be something our audience and our community members would be interested in knowing about. So definitely keep in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. One last thing. Let people know how they can, contact you. Like, are you on Twitter? Like, how can people, stay in contact with you and follow you?
Yes, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, all at LeTonya Moore. I'm also on Facebook. It's called I Protect Your Brand with LeTonya Moore. And you can also go to my website, iprotectyourbrand.com.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks again, Latanya. We definitely appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Take care.
Blacks in technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.